So this will be part 1 and 2 of the digestive system. So let's get started. Okay, the digestive tract is divided into 2 parts, okay? The first part is the alimentary canal, also known as the GI tract, okay? So if I reach in your mouth and grab your esophagus and just start pulling, I pull out a really long tube, okay? That tube is the alimentary canal, okay? Mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, large intestine, or small intestine, large intestine. Okay. Attached, attached to that tube is the accessory digestive organs: the teeth, the tongue, the salivary, the gallbladders, salivary glands, liver, pancreas. Okay, so tube, and then you have organs that are attached to that tube but not part of the tube itself. Okay, they secrete things to help the breakdown of the food. Okay. Okay, so there you go. The whole digestive system. Okay. So we'll skip the divisions or the quadrants where we covered. Okay. All right. The peritoneum we'll skip. Okay. So the digestive process. Okay, ingestion occurs in the mouth, propulsion, the movement of food. Okay, the major movement of food is actually peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis, let me show you what that is. Okay, this is peristalsis. It's the rhythmic pumping of the food down the digestive tract. Okay. All right. Mechanical breakdown is the breakdown that's required before you even get the chemical digestion. You have to break down the food into small enough pieces so that so the enzymes can actually affect it. Okay, chewing, the churning of the food in the stomach, segmentation in the intestines. This is segmentation. Okay, it's a mixing of the food. See how the brown and the light beige color gets mixed into a uniform brown color. Okay, that is segmentation. Okay. All right. Okay. Chemical digestion is the complex molecules are broken down into chemical components. It starts off in the mouth right away. Okay. Mouth has enzymes that start to digest sugar primarily. Okay, and then it goes into the stomach. The stomach digests proteins or starts to break down proteins. It ends for the most part in the small intestine. The small intestine basically digests everything. Okay, and then you go from absorption of the nutrients in the small intestine and a little bit in the large intestine, and then finally, whatever we don't absorb, we defecate. Okay. Okay. So there you go. Make sure you know the parts of this slide as well. Okay. Okay. We already went over these guys. Okay. The alimentary canal wall, okay, has 4 layers. Okay. The innermost layer, the layer that's actually interacting with food is the mucosa. Okay. The next layer out is the submucosa. Okay. That's where all the nerve and blood fiber connective tissue are. Okay. And then the muscularis externa, this has the layers of muscle, smooth muscle, that's for pumping. And then the last layer, the serosa, is the outermost layer. Okay, it's the one that attaches everything together. Okay. Okay, so here you can see the layers of smooth muscle. You see how they go in different directions here, okay? Okay, here is the submucosa, here's the mucosa. Okay, so here you can see that here, mucosa, the interactive layer is a mucosa, the submucosa below it has all the blood vessels, lymphatics and stuff, and then the muscles for churning and stuff, and then the attachment, the outside wall, okay? Okay, smooth muscle is layered in sheets, okay? In most places there are two sheets. One sheet is longitudinal and one sheet is circular. And the difference in pumping of those sheets is what causes the mixing, okay? All right, so let's tackle the mouth and associated organs. So one of the questions that will be on your test is to make sure you understand the pathway of food and what happens at each stage, okay? The mouth is the oral cavity, okay? All right, so the mouth, there's a mouth, okay? So there's a mouth, okay. So the tongue, the purpose of the tongue, in addition to, you know, speaking and stuff, is to really move the food around, okay? Okay, teeth, okay? You have deciduous teeth, which appear first at 6 months of age. These are also known as your baby teeth. And then you have permanent teeth. You have 32 teeth that are permanent and they erupt by the end of adolescence, okay? So you have a dental shorthand, okay, so 32, okay, divided by 12 is 16, so you have 16 teeth on top and 16 teeth on bottom. You have, out of the bottom, you have 8 teeth on each side, and 8 teeth on each side. So there's each side, okay, and top and bottom have 8 teeth, and you have the same 8 teeth. You have 2 incisors, you have 1 canine, you have 2 premolars, and 3 molars. Okay, the purpose of the incisors is to cut. So if you bite an apple, you're cutting with your incisors. The canine is for puncturing. Like the canine on humans is kind of puny, but the canine on other animals is a very sharp, powerful tool to puncture things with. Okay, so things like bears. Okay, and then you have premolars and molars, whose job it is to grind the food. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll skip the tooth structure. Okay. The job of the salivary glands is to produce saliva. Okay. Saliva is produced by the parotid, the submandibular, and the sublingual. So parotid gland right here, submandibular, submandibular, and sublingual. Okay. Okay. The pharynx. Okay. So when we swallow, our food also enters the pharynx. And so this portion of the pharynx is shared by both the digestive tract and the respiratory tract. Okay. So because it's shared with the digestive tract and the respiratory tract, the type of epithelium here has to be stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. Because you're swallowing food, so like it has to be relatively rough. Okay, the esophagus. Okay, the gross anatomy of the esophagus is simple. It's a long muscular tube. Okay, it joins the stomach inferior to the diaphragm. Okay, so the most important thing about the esophagus is the cardiac sphincter. Okay, the cardiac sphincter closes the lumen to prevent the stomach acid from entering the esophagus. So your stomach is incredibly acidic, has a pH of about 2. Okay, your esophagus is not designed to handle that, and so you have to seal off the stomach from the esophagus to prevent, okay, the acid in the stomach from reaching your esophagus. When that happens, that is called heartburn, okay? So to prevent heartburn, you have a sphincter called the cardiac sphincter. The other term for cardiac sphincter, gastroesophageal sphincter. Okay, so that valve is extremely important because that's really a billion-dollar industry. So many people have heartburn and stuff, and there's so much medication for it. Everything ranging from Tums to like proton inhibitors to like surgery and all this other stuff. Okay. All right. All right. So we'll skip and you can see the difference between stomach and esophagus. So stomach, esophagus. Okay. These have pits or acid and stuff. This is not. Okay. So like if you have heartburn every once in a while, it's not a big deal. Okay. But if you have heartburn like multiple times a week and stuff, it can erode your esophagus to the point where it causes esophageal cancer or even worse, esophageal ulcer. Okay. All right. The stomach is a site where food is turned into chyme. Okay. The secretion of pepsin begins protein digestion. Okay. So pepsin is an enzyme that breaks down protein. Okay. So let's talk about what that does, and we'll come back to the parts of the stomach in a little bit. Okay. So if I look at the stomach microscopically, this is what I see. There are two types of cells that are important here. These guys called chief cells, and these guys called parietal cells. Okay, chief cells, okay, produce pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is a type of pepsin, but it is inactive. Okay, pepsinogen literally means pepsin generating. So it can turn into pepsin, but it needs help. Where it needs help is it needs acid. Okay, acid is HCl, and that's provided by the parietal cell. Okay, the parietal cell secretes HCl. The HCl chops the pepsinogen into pepsin, and then the pepsin digests the protein. Okay, the reason why you want this two-step process, okay, is because you do not want any cell to produce active pepsin. If you produce active pepsin, it would digest the cell. So what do you want to do? You want to make an inactive pepsin, take it to where you want to go, and then activate it. Okay, just like you don't want to make active grenades and ship active grenades, you want to put a firing pin in to lock the grenade, ship it, and then pull the pin. The HCl is the pulling the pin. It literally cuts off a little bit of the pepsinogen and makes it active. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna stop part 1 right here, and I'll pick it up with part 2.